I'm planting a pomato today. This plant is a tomato above the ground and a potato below the ground. It's been grafted, so it's one plant with potatoes and tomatoes, which is super cool. This one is called Ketchup and Fries by Tom Tato. I've never grown this before, and today I'm planting it. You can plant tomatoes in the ground, but I'm gonna use a container because I don't like to dig up potatoes. So it recommends a 15-gallon container. So that's what I've got here, and I've got some nice potting mix. With Ketchup and Fries by Tom Tato, it's recommending to plant the graft union below the soil. It's saying to bury it up to the second set of tomato leaves. So I'm gonna bury this probably 4 or 5 inches deeper than it is in this plastic nursery pot. I think they probably want the graft buried a little bit deeper. First of all, so the potatoes are deeper in the ground, but I think also maybe the tomato plant can root out.
So the first thing I'm doing here is just mixing in some slow release organic fertilizer. This is nothing fancy, it's just a nice balanced all-purpose tomato fertilizer. And I just mix it into the soil a little bit. The potting mix I'm using doesn't have a ton of fertilizer in it. Some do, but this one doesn't. With the plant here, just trying to be really gentle, holding the root ball, and I'm just trying to make sure the roots are a little bit loose but not be too disruptive to it, and just get it ready here for planting. You can see these little things from the grafts are left over. Get them out of there, those little clips and stuff. Okay, so let's dig the hole, make sure that we're at that probably 4 or 5 inches below ground. I'm gonna clip off any of the leaves because I don't want to just bury the leaves that are below that kind of 4 or 5 inch mark. They say the second set of leaves, so definitely the first 2 sets of leaves are coming off. I also don't love it when the leaves are touching the soil either, so I tend to do, that's pruning that I usually do on a tomato plant. I don't do a ton of tomato plant pruning, but definitely near the bottom it seems to be important for air circulation. So just working on bringing up the level a little bit, making sure that those potatoes are buried. I like to keep the soil maybe an inch below the top of the container just so that there's lots of room to water. Containers dry out so fast, especially in the summertime and here on the deck when it's in the blazing sun. So I do need to water them more than I do my tomatoes in my raised beds or if they were in the ground. So not too much soil can be helpful just to make sure that there's enough space for that water to kind of pond and then soak down into the soil. Okay, I've got this little stake. This is just a tiny little bamboo stake. It is not adequate for the full lifespan of the plant, but I'm just gonna use it here to get the stems up and off the soil. I want them I don't want them laying on the soil, so I'm just using some twine to tie them here, just so that the plant is somewhat vertical. And then a really good thorough watering. The potting mix I'm using was pretty damp at the bottom, but there was lots of dry stuff added to the top, and I just want to make sure everything is settled nicely. And then the tomato cage. I made this one myself.
Okay, the tomato's planted. It's 4 or 5 inches deeper than it was in here. We've got this big cage around it. I did stake the bottom of it, but now all that's left to do, now that it's watered and all ready, is to put it in the sunshine.